What up, dudes? It's Gaz, and welcome back to the WARFRAME video. So, did lots of damage attenuation DPS testing on Archons on the current Abyss of Dagath patch. If you didn't know this, DE didn't like the one-shots on Archon fights, so they took those away. So we'll be going over the current Archon meta in today's video, and showing what types of frames and weapons you can use to take on Archons in no time at all, but definitely still not a one-shot, unfortunately. We'll start the video with a KUVA heck clip just to show that it really isn't going to work anymore. Before we get into the builds and all that for the weapons that you should actually use now, make sure you're subbed to this channel. We do daily Warframe video uploads. Also check out the live stream as well. We did all this testing on stream, that's what I do a lot on this channel, is test things on the live stream. So if you want to come stop by, I'd really appreciate it. But as you can see right here, that's a KUVA heck alt fire shot on an Archon, not one-shotting it, and I'm really running Eclipse Ivara with full galvanized stacks. So on the previous patch, that thing would definitely be dead. Pull out the Latum, and you'll see that the weapons like the Latum are going to be more what you're looking for going forward on Archon hunts. You want weapons that are not just one singular burst of damage. You want weapons that are a constant barrage of damage, as the amount of damage you could blast them with at a single time has been massively, massively diminished. So you've seen a constant flow of bullets. So that being said, what can you use for Archons now? You can use weapons that are going to be able to fire for a decent amount of time. So weapons like the Felarx, weapons like the Knell Prime with its infinite ammo on headshots, weapons like the pretty much any good Incarnon. We're talking Boltor Prime, Soma Prime, etc., etc. And the types of builds you should be going for on these weapons is, if they're a crit weapon, obviously go for some crit mods, but also go for radiation damage type. So go with electric and heat combined to radiation. That's what Archons are weak to. They're also technically weak to cold damage too. If you could fit cold onto your build, you can do a radiation and cold combined build. That will be the best damage types for the Archon. So, one of the weapons you could use is the Knell Prime. Let's go ahead and show how the Knell Prime fares on an Archon. And also, I'd recommend that you bring some frame buffs too. So I've got Harrow right now. Knell Prime is Harrow's signature pistol. It just made sense. Additionally, for specifically the Amar Wolf Archon, you can actually use the enemy highlighting feature in-game to see which Archon is the correct one, because he makes illusions of himself. I don't have that feature on in this clip, but in the later clips, we will have that active. The Knell Prime can melt it relatively fast with a build similar to shown just now, but it's not going to be the best of the best. The best of the best are going to be Incarnon guns, to be honest. So we're talking Latum, dual tox assist, even the Atomos Incarnon. Out of my testing, the Atomos Incarnon's beam was the fastest kill out of any weapon. So I don't know what's happening there, but yeah, the Atomos Incarnon's beam was nuts. So let's go ahead and show how the Incarnon is going to work for the dual toxis first off. I got the dual toxis in the Glaive. Let me just go ahead and find that timestamp. So you would think the Glaive wouldn't, the Glaive is a big blast of damage. How would that work? For some reason, the slash proc of the Glaive actually is pretty decent on the Archon. So showing how that works here. Let's get over to that Archon. So we got the dual toxicist and the Glaive. So throw the Glaive at him, and the slash proc over time will slowly tickle down the Archon. The dual toxicist is definitely more burst damage, and it's also full auto in its Incarnon form. So let's go with a radiation build on your dual toxicist. You can even maybe throw in a cold mod too, like I said earlier in the video. But of course, your normal crit stuff will also be very important. So right there, slowly melt them down. He's got a slash proc on from the Glaive. He is doing something. He's doing an illusion attack. So they definitely have changed it where it will start doing its illusion attacks more often, it feels like. But yeah, there we go. Throw the Glaive at the Archon and then finish him off with the dual toxicist. Pretty easy kill. I would recommend the dual toxicist Incarnon, especially if you do have a riven for it. So you might be noticing it's like, okay, well you're saying a lot of weapons that are not really similar to each other at all. And that is kind of what it seems like here. You can just run whatever good weapon you have. The Felarx was good before, the Felarx is good now. Radiation build and the Felarx do the exact same build as before. Just do the same thing. It's going to be not a one bullet kill, but it'll be like a one magazine kill with this current setup. Additionally, some other things have changed too. One of the characters that you could actually consider for this going forward is going to be Octavia. Why Octavia? Well, at some point they made it where Octavia's mallet actually can damage the Archon. We'll go ahead and show that to you right now. So the Archon will attack the mallet, and it will also just damage itself. So I wouldn't call it fast. It's definitely not as fast as like an Atomos or a dual toxicist or a Latum, but it technically does work. So you throw on the mallet, throw on the amp, have the Archon attack it, and then just stand back so you don't get caught in the crossfires. And yeah, it will slowly whittle itself down with the mallet. if that's something that you want to do, as I stated, it is definitely slower than like doing a Roar Revenant with like a Felarx, or doing a Eclipse Ivara with like a dual Toxist or something. It's just not that great, but I want to show you that it is a thing. Additionally, Baruch, the Baruch Prime for that matter, Baruch's fists are actually pretty good on this thing, especially if you mod it for the sacrificial mods, as it gives bonus damage to sentience. And I'm pretty sure this thing's a sentient, so that should technically work. But yeah, Baruch can actually just like punch it down relatively quickly. But let's go over the meta now. Enough talking about stuff that's okay, or like you could try this. Let's go ahead and show the stuff that I think you should use, and it's actually going to be Titania Prime. Yes, I know, big surprise, the frame that's good at speedrunning is the best at speedrunning Archons. Well, it's true. I did a couple runs of this solo, and the fastest time I got was under 3 minutes for the entire mission. The one you're watching in the background right now is about 3.5 minutes, I believe. So not exactly a fast run on this one, but yeah. Let's go ahead and talk about why Titania is so good for this. And one of the things is actually going to be something not involving the actual boss DPS itself. The tile they spawn you on is a really, really long trek to the fight. Not to mention, the way that Archon hunts work is that after you do the first DPS phase, the second phase, you have to go and like get these canisters or whatever. There's a long, long trek between point A and point B to get those canisters. So the biggest problem with Titania is that she cannot pick up a canister and fly around in Razor Wing form. So you will have to pick up the canister as your frame, but here's a good thing. When you pick up the canister in these missions, that canister will, for some reason, stun all the sentients and Narmer nearby you. So, yeah, we'll show the build for Titania, of course. But the biggest thing here is that you want to be running a ton of power strength that you don't normally... I don't normally run Titania with a bunch of power strength personally. But the reason you run power strength on Titania is because power strength influences how much damage her guns do per bullet. So that's going to be a great way to get more damage per shot. We've also got some arcanes that give us more fire rate. And I've also got a magazine size mod on my Dex Pixia pistols as well. Because you know why that is? Even though Titania can melt them down, she doesn't have a huge magazine size on her pistols. And the way damage attenuation works, that you're capped on how much damage you can do. So yeah, you need to fire for quite a while, even though it is melting them really quick. I'm also going to probably show you the atomos build I used here too. It's a radiation cold atomos. But yeah, Titania is the best for this. I'm using the Zata's Whisper Helminth from Zaku to not only reset the sentient adaptation, but also, void damage, a little bit of extra void hits in there to be a pretty big DPS increase. You could technically use Roar from Rhino as well. Although I don't know if I'd really recommend to use Mirage Eclipse, as you don't know if you'll be in the light or the dark for that damage buff when shooting the Archon. But as you can see in the background, Titania is having a very easy time jumping through here. Now, another big thing to keep in mind, if you are someone that has problems with doing Archon hunts, they did make them easier here. But also, remember that Archon hunts, the boss, its health bar scales how many players are in your squad. So if you're doing it solo like I'm doing it right here, it is like a quarter of the health or whatever. If you're in a full squad, the health is multiplied. So you will not see an insta-kill. Well, maybe you might, but if you only have one Titania, you might be having to shoot for a lot longer in a full squad. So yeah, you could honestly solo or duo the Archon hunts as Titania and have a really, really easy time, at least in my opinion. So another great thing about this too is that Titania has no riven mods involved. If you want to bring a riven mod for another weapon, look elsewhere, because Titania Dex Pixias are only normal mods. So yeah, just mow down the trash ads, and then the Archon itself is not that difficult. You could even throw on Viral Procs for a little bit more damage too. I didn't have any Viral Procs in this footage, but yeah, sub 3 minutes on some of the runs, and this one was about 3.5 minutes. So if you want to replicate what I just did right there, just doing the Archon hunt really fast as Titania, I think probably the best way to do it right now. Let's go ahead and show the builds. I've also got the Atomos Incarnon here I'm going to show you too, which is, if I'm not playing Titania, this will be probably my main Archon's melting weapon. Alright, so going over the Titania build, we only have 2 Archon shards because I put some shards on Dagath and Hydroid, but I'll put them back on in the future. We've got the Archon destroying build right here. So a bunch of power strength to increase our Razor Wing damage, also to technically increase the fire rate and speed of Razor Wing Blitz. Also power strength influences how much Zata's Whisper damage you get. So pistol amp, because we're using pistols. Preparation to spawn into the mission with full energy just to get it over with quicker. Augur Secrets for power strength. Streamlined so we drain less energy over time. This is actually pretty important, as if you don't have this mod on here, even with Prime Flow, you will run out of energy by the end of like the second DPS phase. Like right when you get to the Archon after for the second DPS phase, you will be out of energy. So make sure you run Streamline or like Fleeting Expertise or something. Prime Flow just gives us a massive energy pool, 755. Prime Continuity, this will influence the equation of how much energy we drain per second. With Razor Wing, it will also technically let us have our Xata's Whisper lasting longer, and our status immunity from Spellbind last longer too. Razor Wing Blitz, basically if you play Titania and don't have this, you should go get it right now. It makes the Razor Wing fourth ability ridiculous. You fly through the mission really fast. Also increases your fire rate for your pistols too. So very, very nice. You got Narrow Minded, giving us a massive increase to duration at the cost of range. Good thing we don't care about range on this build. Transient Fortitude for more power strength, and Umbral Intensify for more power strength. Archon Avenger, because I actually learned this yesterday. Shout out to iStars. If you run into a wall as Titania, you can proc Arcane Avenger. I had Arcane Velocity on here before, but yeah, we were just firing out so many bullets, the damage attenuation was like cutting us off. So I've got Avenger on here. You could put Velocity on there if you don't have Avenger. It's going to be very similar. But yeah, increased crit chance on our pistols. And Arcane Precision on headshot, increased damage for pistols. 300% increased damage for pistols too, so pretty good. So that's the Titania build. Her pistols, the Dex Pixia, are going to be a Radiation Cold build. Very similar to my previous Titania. I think it's actually the exact same Titania build I used in my video, but I put on Prime Slip Magazine because you have to shoot for quite a while. And without that, you will basically have to refill your magazine midway through the DPS. So 93 bullets with Prime Slip Magazine. If you don't got it, you just put normal magazine on there, honestly. It's going to be very similar. The Prime version does not make a huge difference here. But yeah, this can melt the Archon really quickly. And I don't think I have any galvanized stacks on there, to be honest, so that's going to be basically it, guys. Oh, we also got the Atomos yet, too. The Atomos, I really like this a lot. I couldn't find the clip for it in the footage, but basically this was the fastest kill I found so far. My Riven is double crit, heat, and Mias Infested, which is pretty good. But, you know, if you don't have a Riven, you should probably get one because they're probably not expensive, this thing. But yeah, you can just throw on like another mod. Just remember that these enemies are not like Grenier. They might look like a Grenier. They're not Grenier. They are not corrupted. They're not infested. They are sentient in armor. So if you don't have the Riven, you're going to have to find something, to be honest. So maybe just throw like Magnum Force in that slot, I suppose, just for some more base damage. But yeah, this melted it really quick. Because the big thing here is just constant damage. You could even use something like the... well, actually, I wouldn't recommend the Phantasma. We did try the Phantasma Prime, even though the Phantasma Prime has no crit. It's just something that you can definitely do. Rather, it's something you should not do is run a status weapon. Still run crit weapons, still running card-on weapons with big damage. Similar things to before, but just a little bit slower. I think Archon hunts are overall easier. And I kind of feel like we should get Steel Path Archon hunts at this point, DE. Maybe a increased chance of a Tau Shard, or something to make this more difficult, because this has become even easier now. And it's, you know, before it was, I think it was a dumb way to make it difficult. It's like, you have to use this shotgun, you have to use this burst damage, or it just doesn't work. Now it's like, run whatever you feel like. As long as it's a high fire rate, powerful weapon, you will be set for mowing down that Archon in a pretty fast fashion, so... That's basically it for the video, guys. Hope you found it fun and helpful. Here's the Radiation Cold build for the dual Toxicus as well. So, see you guys in the next video. Appreciate all the support. And let me know how you feel about Archon hunts down below. Do you think the Archon hunts became too easy with this change? Do you think that Archon hunts were always too easy, like I kind of do? And what do you think DE could do to make this maybe some challenging content going forward? Either way, guys, appreciate all the support. Take it easy. Bye.